Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Fantasy Fortunes. We're entering game week 11 now, and game week 10 was quite a poor point scoring week for everybody involved in the league and just on fantasy football in general. So hopefully we'll be getting a few more goals and a few more points this week, and let's have a look and see what those points have done to the MHFC challenge table. No change at the top then this week. Still got Alex Armstrong, the diabetic discoverer, still up there in first place. Quite a poor week for him though. Tom Negresley as well, also not having a great week, but stays in second place. So two Mongols then take up the top two. And the top challenger, the big mover, Soccer Pro FC in there. 69 points, moving himself up to third. And closing the gap to top now, it's just 30 points. So it's still anyone's game. And so we still got 2/3 of the season left plus. So plenty of time for that to all change round. So then, let's get straight into the game week 11 fixtures, and to be honest, the Saturday fixtures aren't filling me with a lot of excitement, but let's have a look at the first one anyway. The first fixture then, we're looking at Stoke versus Leicester. Now, Stoke have been very, very poor of late, especially at home, which is surprising for them because the Britannia, or the Bet365 Stadium as I think it's now called, is normally a fortress for them. They've had no players of any real form apart from Mohamed Ramjouf, but even he stopped scoring goals now. And so, if I'm going to be honest, I'd stay away from their players. I've got Leicester to win this one because ever since they've changed manager, they've been hitting their form again, and they've got the big boys, Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez, playing for each other again. Riyad Mahrez, you're looking for a midfielder, 8.4 million, not too expensive at all for someone who can create as much as he can. Jamie Vardy up top, 8.6 million, which is when you look around the league for someone who is as dangerous as him, that is an absolute snip. So if I was going to put people in from the Leicester side this week, it would definitely be those two, and I've got to back Leicester to win this 1-0. Now the second game is Huddersfield playing at home to West Bromwich Albion. Now last time Huddersfield were at home, they absolutely smashed Manchester United in what's got to be the most surprising performance of the season. Really, this week they're at home to West Brom. West Brom not really got any real form, no standout players this season at all, to be honest. Jay Rodriguez come into the side and he has started playing quite well, but I don't think he's going to be consistently scoring goals, especially against this Huddersfield side at home, who, in fairness, I don't think they're going to be scoring a lot of goals either. The only real player that you can pick from this game is going to be Aaron Moy in the midfield for Huddersfield, and he's cheap as well, only around the 5.4, 5.5 million mark as well, so it might be worth getting him in. But this game, I think it's either going to be 0-0 or going to be a 1-0 Huddersfield win. And we move on to Newcastle versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth actually have picked up a little bit of form lately, even though they're not getting the wins. They've been playing very, very well. They pushed Chelsea right to the last minute at home in the last game week, and the week before that, a very impressive 2-1 win away at Stoke. But unfortunately, I think going to St James's Park, Newcastle, they have been playing well as well. They're always a team that I look at, and they're always higher up in the league than I think they're doing. And you realise they've actually got some really, really good wins in there this season. And I think this is going to be another narrow win for them at home to Bournemouth. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game at all. Maybe a 1-0 or a 2-1 in this one. And when you're looking at Newcastle players to put in, your two form players, you've got Matt Ritchie, quality on that left foot, only 5.9 million. And at the back, you've got Jamal Lascelles, absolute rock at the back for Newcastle this season. And you know he can always pop up with a goal from a corner. When it comes to the Bournemouth side, they've got a lot of injuries at the minute. Nobody in any real particular form, struggling for goals up front, which when you look at what they've got up front is quite surprising. But the one thing that may be a bit of a risky shout this week, Callum Wilson did finally come back into the first team last week, played the last half hour or so in this game. With the injury problems, will he play instead of Jermaine Defoe? If he does play, 5.9 million, and who knows, coming back into the side like that, he could be in for a really big match-winning performance. I'm not going to edge my bets on it though. I'm going Newcastle home win. And then we move on to Southampton versus Burnley, and in my mind this is got 0-0 written all over it. But if someone is going to break the deadlock, the two informed players for each team at the minute, Southampton, you've got Stephen Davis. He is cheap as chips at 5.1 million and has been popping up with goals and assists for them whenever he's been playing this season. When we look at the Burnley side, again, no real form in that Chris Wood. He's got a bit of an injury, so there's a good chance he won't be playing. Jeff Hendrick, though, has stepped up with a few goals and a few assists, actually, in recent games. And Burnley have actually been very good away from home this season. So they're the two players to go for. 5.1 for Davis, 5.4 for Hendrick. But I'm still thinking this has got draw written all over it, potentially a 0-0. Then we're looking at Swansea playing at home to Brighton. Now, Swansea were very good, actually, against Arsenal last week. Unfortunate to get the loss there, especially playing away at the Emirates. Back at home this week against a Brighton side that have been hitting a bit of form themselves as well of late. But away from home, they've not quite been the same as they have at home. So it'll be a close match, but I'm going to edge Swansea to win this one, especially because they've got Tammy Abraham, my boy, playing up top. 5.9 million for Tammy Abraham. Just got his first call up to the senior England squad as well, so he's going to be absolutely buzzing I'm hoping he's going to thrive off the back of that and bag a few goals against Brighton this weekend. But when you look at Brighton, they've got two of the more informed players in the league. Pascal Gross, who I think is basically, if he was playing in a Man City side, he could be in the conversation for being one of the best midfielders in the world at the minute, because he's creating more chances than anybody in any European leagues. I know it is for Brighton, and what I might have said is potentially a bit of an overstatement, but that's how good he has been for Brighton this season. And at only 5.8 million as well, he's an absolute steal. Glenn Murray up top for them as well. He's been scoring goals, bagged 3 in his last 2 games, I believe. And at 5.7 million, he might be worth it for a cheap striker. But if you're going to go for a cheap striker, though, ignore Glenn Murray. Get Tammy Abraham in, because he is a talent. And then we've got the late kickoff, the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. We have got Liverpool playing away at West Ham, and this is, I think I'm actually praying for West Ham in this one right now, because Liverpool have been scoring so many goals of lately in the Champions League and in the league, and West Ham have tried to act like they're going to come out of this little slump, and then as soon as they do, so like I said, with a big win over Tottenham in the Carabao Cup, and all of a sudden you get brought back home 2-0 up against Crystal Palace at half-time, concede a last-minute goal, end up drawing that 2-2. And how are we going to bounce back from that against the Liverpool side? I'm not entirely sure that we are, in fairness. So I'm going for a big Liverpool win in this one. I think it could easily be 3, maybe 4-0. And when you're looking at Liverpool players in form, you can't overlook Mohamed Salah, 9.3 million. He gets in such good positions, and in fairness, he should score more goals than he does with the amount of chances he earns for himself. But he is still putting them away. I think he's got 5 goals and 3 assists in the Premier League so far this season, and with his pace going down that right-hand side, I reckon he could really cause West Ham trouble at the back. And in the middle, his partner in crime, you've got Roberto Firmino, excellent player for Liverpool as well. Goes a bit under the radar as well, and that means he's quite cheap for a striker, 8.5 million as well. He could be the real bargain for this weekend, because I think there's going to be goals. Coutinho, not sure whether he's going to start because of injury. Daniel Sturridge, you're going to think, is probably going to be playing off the bench. And then another little tip potentially for when you're playing West Ham is that you're always likely to get a penalty. I think we've given 3 or 4 penalties away in the league this season. Who's going to be taking those penalties? It's going to be Jimmy Milner. Jimmy Milner, he's a defender this season. He's 6.2 million, which is expensive for a defender. But if he's taking a penalty, he's going to get the 6 points for a goal. So that could be a nice little earner for you if you've got the stones to put him in there. 6.2 million, I might give it a go myself. James Milner, that's the shout. But this is a comfortable Liverpool win all day. And then we move on to Super Sunday, and Super Sunday is actually pretty super this weekend, I've got to be said. The last few have bored me to death, but this one is actually looking pretty naughty. The first game, the early kick-off, Spurs playing at home to Crystal Palace. Spurs, obviously massive win at Wembley over Real Madrid in the Champions League. And unfortunately for Crystal Palace, who have been showing a bit of form lately ever since Roy Hodgson's really taken over the reins and got the team playing the way he wants them to play. But I don't think there's anything that they can do this weekend against a Tottenham side that are just scoring goals whenever they want, really. And obviously you got Harry Kane. He's not been consistently scoring in like every single game like he was last season, but he's got 8 in the league this season, 4 braces. So when he scores, he doesn't normally just score 1, he scores a couple. And he started scoring at Wembley and stuff as well now. So now he's got all these little hoodoos behind him. That could be real trouble for Crystal Palace, so you've got to get him in there. Obviously, he's the most expensive player in the league, 12.7 million though. So you might face a bit of a struggle to get him in there. If you haven't got 12.7 million to spend, Dele Alli has now started scoring goals again. He's 9.3 million as a midfielder. So he could be a real good shout if he can carry on this form of scoring goals for Tottenham. And then when you're looking at the defence, because I don't think Crystal Palace have got a chance of scoring in this game, to be honest. The standout defender for me in the last few weeks has really been Kieran Trippier in that right back position. He was excellent against Real Madrid. Gets himself in such good dangerous positions, and his final delivery into the box is absolutely class. So he could be a really good shout there, and at 5.6 million as well. He's not too expensive for a defender, so he'd be my good shout for a defender at the back, but this has got to be a comfortable Tottenham win for me. I'm going 3-0. And then we go into the first of 2 very big games. We've got Man City playing at home to Arsenal. And it's quite a tasty fixture just because of the calibre of the 2 sides. But I think when you really break it down, Arsenal could be embarrassed here, and quite badly. So this is going to be really, really preying on Arsene Wenger's mind that he doesn't want to... We've seen it before where Arsenal have been absolutely swept aside by teams 4-5-0. I mean, Chelsea a couple of seasons ago just absolutely battered them out of the park and things like that. So that will be the real worry for Arsenal fans, especially with the way that Man City are playing. Can they handle that fast-paced passing football that we all know Man City are capable of, and I'm not sure that they can. But there's a few little interesting bits in here. Start with the Man City team. Obviously, you've got plenty of players to pick, but your three main ones at the minute are Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling, and obviously Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne, the most expensive there at 10.1 million. Sané and Sterling, 8.3 to 8.7 million. So they're not too bad. The problem is always, like I said, with Man City, is the rotation. When we look up front, Gabriel Jesus, Sergio Aguero, which one of them is going to start, you don't know. And you're paying a lot of money on something that you can't be sure that they're going to pay any more than 15 minutes. So that's not really worth it. When you look at the midfielders, Kevin De Bruyne, you think he's definitely going to start. Leroy Sané, you think he's now got a nailed on starting position in there. Raheem Sterling scored more goals than Sané, set up more goals than Sané. But he's not getting that start. He is the cheaper option, so he is also a bit of a risk. So if you're going to pluck for one or two guaranteed starters in the Man City team, it's going to be Kevin De Bruyne and it's going to be Leroy Sané, and they could make a real impact this weekend. Looking at the Arsenal side, this is where it gets interesting, because I don't think they particularly stand a chance in this one. I'm not going to lie. I think Man City will probably win. I think both teams will score, but I think it will probably be 3-1, 4-1 potentially. But Alexis Sanchez, very, very close to going to Man City in the summer. If he's still got intentions of getting a move to Man City either in January or at the end of the season, he's going to be wanting to impress Guardiola. So he's going to be putting it all out on the line, and I think he could be in for a good performance. 11.8 million though is expensive to take that risk if he's going to be playing in this game, which you've got to expect. Arsenal have got to put out their strongest side. And like I said, I think Arsenal will get a goal because Man City have been a bit leaky at the back. They've just been outscoring opponents. So Arsenal, when you look at who's going to be scoring goals, then Lacazette, obviously, big player for them up front, 10.4 million as well. He's quite expensive, but in terms of the top caliber strikers in the league, he's not actually that bad. And Aaron Ramsey in the midfield, he's been playing very, very well of late as well, 7 million as well. So he's not expensive by any means at all. So he could be a good shout to get in there. But then again, we're looking at Arsenal maybe snipping one goal, and to gamble on Aaron Ramsey being the one to score, that is a big gamble, but always worth a gamble if you want to get those points. But yeah, I'd stay away from defenders from both teams, because I think this will definitely be a both teams to score, but the more goals are going to be scored by Man City. Then moving on to Chelsea versus United, it's a game that it's two massive sides, but it's just really not exciting me, and I can't help but feel that this has got 0-0 written all over it. Chelsea in terrible form at the minute, a real slump, got absolutely smashed midweek by Roma. Man United, they're scraping wins, but they're not playing well, and they're not playing very exciting football. Well, United as well. Mourinho's been parking the bus at these away games, well, and the home games against the top 6 sides in the Premier League. So you've got to feel he's going to do the same again, and they're just going to be looking for outballs to Morata, and they're going to be looking for outballs to Lukaku. So it's really going to come down to those two strikers. And it's quite interesting because obviously there was a lot of talk in the summer that Morata was going to go to Man United and Lukaku was going to go back to Chelsea. Obviously that's not happened, it's happened the other way round. So it'll be quite interesting to see how those two play, but that's what it's really going to come down to, because if someone's going to nick a goal, it's going to come to one of the big men up top, because I think it's going to be that kind of game. Morata, you pay slightly less for him at 10.3 million. Lukaku, you pay 11.6 for him, so it's a big risk. Not in any form, not scored in his last 3 games, but coming back against his former club, he could be the game winner. The other option you've got looking at is if Mourinho does park the bench, Anthony Martial coming off the bench and getting a winner, because we've seen him do that 4 or 5 times already this season, but paying 8 million for a midfielder just to put him on the bench in the hope that he comes on and scores a goal is obviously a massive risk. So yeah, I'm going to say to stay away from the players in this one, because it's just not a game that I think is going to get you back any points for what you're going to be paying for these players. I've got 0-0 in it, I'm sticking with it. The final game of game week 11, we've got Everton playing at home for Watford. Now it's not the big finish that we were hoping for, but it's still quite an interesting game. Now Everton obviously are awful, and I mean they are really terrible, and that's coming from a West Ham fan. Can't buy themselves a win, can't even buy themselves a performance at the minute. They had about a 10-minute spell against Arsenal where they looked decent, and then they obviously absolutely collapsed to a 5-2 loss. Playing midweek in the Europa League, you think that could be a good chance for them to try and pick up some form, but they've not been playing strong squads in there, and they've been getting smashed, and then they come back to the league, and then they're being beaten again home and away. So yeah, no real form from them. The only person for from Everton's point of view who's looks like he's got that fight and determination about him is Wayne Rooney. 7.3 million as well, not massively expensive for a striker, but they're not in a lot of form and are definitely not guaranteed goals in this game against a Watford side who keep on showing a lot of promise. Like they could be challenging potentially for that top 6, because I think you'd put them in the same kind of bracket as maybe around like the Liverpool standard, something like that, to be honest, because they've got the players to do it and they've shown signs that they can play at that quality. But then you go to a performance like last week where they surprisingly lose at home 1-0. And yeah, and then all of a sudden you have to think twice about it, and it's, yeah, I can't quite work them out at the minute, to be honest. But against an Everton side, you've got to think it's a very good chance for them to get an away win. And the two main players that you've got to look at, I say it every week, I think, because I really, really rate these two players, Doucouré and Richarlison. 5.4 million for Doucouré, 6.4 million for Richarlison. Now, Doucouré doesn't get in as many goal-scoring positions, but a real box-to-box midfielder. Richarlison gets himself in a lot of goal-scoring positions, but hasn't quite found his finishing touch as regularly as you'd like this season. But they're going to be the real danger. No Troy Deeney for Watford, so they're going to miss a big impact up front. So I think Richarlison or Richarlison, or however you want to say it, he's going to be playing in a bit more advanced role than he does normally. So he's going to be my real pick for this game at 6.4 million, and I've got to go for a Watford win. Moving on to the captain's pick. Now, we've got 3 picks for you again this week, and unsurprisingly 2 of them are Tottenham players playing at home to Crystal Palace. Those 2 Tottenham players, Harry Kane first of all, 12.7 million, obviously the most expensive player in the league, but he gets himself so many chances in every single game. And like I said previously, when he scores one, he normally scores another one. He's got 4 braces in the league this season, 8 goals in total, and obviously quality player. But the other Tottenham player we're going to be looking at as well, Dele Alli, started scoring goals recently. He's got 3 in his last 2, including 2 at Wembley against Real Madrid in midweek. So he could carry on from that performance, get himself another couple of goals. And obviously as a midfielder, he's going to be scoring a few more points. Now, the third option isn't a Tottenham player, it's a Liverpool player. And it pains me to say it, but Liverpool could really run riot at the Olympic Stadium this weekend. So the one we've picked, Mohamed Salah, he's got 5 goals and 3 assists this season. Really performed, and like I said, that he could have easily doubled both of those tallies, the amount of chances he gets in each game. He started putting some of them away, 9.3 million as well, the same price as Dele Alli, and I think a better guarantee for goal and points this week. So like I say, in the poll, let us know who you think is the best choice for captain this week, and then we'll see if you can get it right for once. So that is it then for another game week of Fantasy Fortunes. As always, let us know in the comments if you think we've missed any big performers out, or any real nice tips in there that you think we've overlooked. Obviously as well, we've given you the 3 choices for captains this week. You don't have to agree with them at all. If there's someone that you don't think is going to be the best choice for captain in there, give us a comment below and let us know who you think we've missed out and who is a real good, strong possibility for the best performer of the week in this game week. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you do enjoy these videos. Obviously we appreciate all of your support. Moving into an international break now, so we've got 2 weeks of absolutely dull international friendlies to look forward to. So we'll be back in a fortnight. Until then, on to the next one.